Okay, we've got a conversation lined up with Satish Pai, MD Hindalco Industries. Satish, good morning. Let's get into those numbers. The sequential improvement in business is pretty visible. Let's start with the Indian aluminium business. We've seen an improvement in the auto sector, the other segments. How are demand and pricing looking, and are we yet at those pre-COVID levels?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I said that Q3 is a sort of a milestone quarter, because I think we are now back to the pre-COVID demand. We are back into pre-COVID demand in India as well as internationally. So I think that's the significant part, because we are flat out. Even our Indian downstream business, we did about 80 KT of sales, which is higher than last year. So for us now, the demand is back to pre-COVID levels.
Sure. I wanted to understand, because, as we speak, LMEI has recovered again to about $2,000. How will realizations then trend in the fourth quarter for you?
I think that, our pricing moves with the LME. So in Q3, the average price was $12 per ton for aluminium. And I think now currently this quarter, we have already finished January and Feb, and the average is more like 1975 to 2000. So Q4 pricing for aluminium will be slightly higher than Q3.
Okay. Mr. Pai, copper has recovered, but it's currently at the pre-COVID levels. What's the plan to scale up production here, and copper EBITDA, which is still declining for you? So if you could just give us a sense of why all this is happening and how you plan to tackle the situation.
Yeah, I think that, as you said, the copper production in Q3 was down because of a planned shutdown. So Q4, it will come back. But at the end of Q4, we'll be taking another smelter shutdown, which will last till May 15th. And I think after that, what we are saying is that for the next 2 years, you should see both the smelters running smoothly. So I think that the production will pick up after May. Q4 will be better than Q3, no doubt, because both the smelters are going to run full flat out in Q4.
Mr. Pai, that scrap prices have actually risen along with other commodity costs too. Could that really cap margins for you come fourth quarter?
No, not really, because you see, if you take the cost of production in Q3, it was flat with Q2. So no doubt Q3 to Q4, there's going to be a little bit of cost inflation, because most input costs are going up. But then the pricing is also going up. So we think from a margin point of view, Q4 will be as good as Q3.
Okay, it was another excellent quarter for Novelties as well. Shipments were up, costs were down, EBITDA per ton also beating guidance there. What was the contribution from Aleris like?
So I think the Novelties overall had a record quarter, because they were flat out from a volume point of view in all areas. So I think that, can was very strong, auto was very strong, and the Aleris business contributed because the building and construction segment in the US was exceptionally strong as well. So all these three sectors led to that very high EBITDA per ton. Scrap spreads were also good, that benefits Novelties. I think the only sector for Novelties that did not contribute well was the aerospace, because I think the airplane deliveries are quite slow right now because air travel is not picked up. But can, auto and specialty sectors did remarkably well.
Okay, and how much of Aleris's portfolio would come from aerospace, and would a delay in recovery be a drag then on that front?
No, not really, because you see the EBITDA per ton is already running at over $500 per ton. The aerospace segment is about 70 to 80 KT in a 4 million portfolio, and it's running at 50%. So it's very profitable, no doubt. So I don't think that it will be any drag on us. But when it does come back, it will be more positive.
you have the new Chinese and the US project for Novelis that is already lined up, both in specialty segments. How will that add to margins, and how is it that you're going to keep them above $500 to a ton?
So the first, both those projects are for auto coils. They're finishing lines for auto. So the first commercial coil for Guthrie in the US was sent out in December of 2020. And the commercial coil for the Changzhou line will be in Q4 of calendar year 21. So I think both those coming in, what will happen will be that the auto output will go up. Guthrie is 200 KT and Changzhou is another 100. So 300 KT more of auto output will go up. And that's why I think the EBITDA per ton will also go up, because auto is more profitable than CAT.
The integration timeline for Aleris, and any teething issues encountered?
Not really. Actually, the synergies and the integration is going very well. We have announced that at the end of Q3, we have already reached a 54 million run rate of the SG&A synergies, and we think that we will get to 120 million. So I think that the integration and the synergies that we were planning to get from Aleris actually are much more than what we had told you when we actually finished the acquisition. So the integration is going really well.
What sort of cash accretion are we seeing in Novelis? And if you could share with us how it's being utilized to cut debt, what debt picture will really look like as well, what the long-term sustainable range will be for you?
So I think that, we have been saying that in 2 weeks, we are going to come out with the capital allocation framework. So I think that if you would wait for that, what we are going to come out and tell the street is that of the cash that's generated, what percentage will go to growth capex, what percentage will be used to reduce debt, and what percentage will go to shareholders. So I think for the first time, you're going to see Hindalco come out with a very clear capital allocation framework. And we plan to do that in the next 2 weeks more.
Okay, so budget this time had allocations towards infra, but also the scrappage policy. How do you see some of this also boosting demand for aluminium going forward?
Yeah, I think that, as you said, this is a pro-growth budget, and we think that the money allocation that is done to infrastructure will actually have a big multiplier effect on the use of aluminium and copper. The scrappage policy also is of big interest to us, because a lot of aluminium goes into the transportation sector. So actually, if you have trucks, bulkers, trailers being scrapped and new ones coming in, that will also increase the consumption of aluminium. So I think overall, the budget is big on infrastructure and is big on government spend. And we think that the multiplier effect will come on us, because we have also started to expand our downstream capacity. We already announced a capex of 730 crores for extrusion, and we'll be announcing another 2,000-3,000 crores of downstream value-added projects in the aluminium sector in India as well in the next few months. So we also are starting now our capex cycle as we see the economic environment improving.
Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Pai. Good chatting with you on those earnings.